Hi guys, I'm back again. A little chilly tonight. Another question came up about what's a good way to train for random stabs. I mean, imagine, if you will, somebody like Mike Tyson or Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali jabbing at you when they have a blade, or Mike Tyson coming at you with a reverse grip with all his body hooks and bumps and cuts and stuff like that. Well, first thing you want to do is understand that you want to practice range control from the edge of the weapon. So in other words, this is the edge of the weapon, right? And this is the person's arm. You want to keep yourself safe from this perspective. Does that make sense? The closer you get, then you want to practice trying to get elbow control. But with that said, those in the Filipino circle have heard of the thrusting triangle. Okay, tap. That's a good drill. Those of you who box, you practice catching punches. That's a good drill. Now we're talking conceptually too, because you got to think about the edge of the weapon. You got to think about the point and the edge, and they're sharp, and they'll cut you and poke you. With that said, a good thing to do is take a sponge knife like this one here. You know, it's flexible. It can't hurt you. But you start getting an idea of how to articulate your hand as the blade's coming at you. And what you want to practice doing is just tapping the top of the hand just to get used to the range control idea. And you take a training partner and you just start stabbing at each other, back and forth, stab, tap, stab, tap. All right? You want to practice with the knife forward and the knife back, all kind of footworks, all kind of stances. None of that really matters so much. You want to get used to the edge of the weapon and the tip, and where that relates to where you need to be when they stab. Okay? Now, once you have that part worked out, where you can stay back and tap as they stab you, you can tap and you're going to be okay. Then you want to get to the point where you can stab and get into elbow control position. What elbow control means is, if I'm stabbing with my right hand and I stab for you, and you can manipulate the hand and then get your hand behind my elbow control, you've locked into my mobility. The only way I can get out of this is to move. And I have to step away from your elbow. But when you can get a person's hand like that, or meaning his elbow, but your hand behind his elbow like that, and your other hand on top of his forearm, you have a good control of that limb. All right? But the thing to remember is it doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning. So when you end up there, and you get good elbow control, this is where your foot traps, knee spikes, headbutts to his nose come in handy. Because once you got here, he can always switch hands and put it in his other hand. You have to be aware of that. And this kind of training is a huge eye-opener, especially as once you abandon this and go to, say, a solid aluminum trainer with a round tip, and that has a little more hit to it. You're going to feel it. And then eventually you want to go to a dulled real knife, because the metal's a little thinner. It's going to pop you a little bit. It may even minorly scrape you or cut you. You still want to round the tip. But you want to get used to training as close to the real thing as possible. Obviously, you don't want to do this with a super sharp knife. Your ass is going to get cut. And you always have to realize that there's no guarantees with this stuff. The idea is you're trying to stack your percentages so that you have a shot at doing this. Because this is pucker time. When you're dealing with anything sharp, it could be a beer bottle. But the whole point of this tutorial was to talk about training methodologies. How do you get more comfortable? And that's really important. You want to get comfortable with the idea of an edge weapon, just like you want to get comfortable with the idea of a firearm and impact weapons. Once you have a comfort level, now that doesn't mean all lackadaisical. No, that means real high respect for the weapon, but you're calm and you can face it. You don't want to be like this with a knife. They're going to slice the hell out of you. That's what you don't want. And the other thing you don't want is you don't want to get stabbed in the body. If you're going to get cut up, you want to get cut up on your limbs, preferably on the outside of your arm. You try to stay away from the flexor areas, the artery areas. Okay, that should go without saying. But on a serious level, this is important, because how many people really train this way? A lot of people go through drills, and dedicated slashes and all. That's all cool, and it's all good stuff. But if it's going to work, and if it's going to really mean something, you know what? You got to add some ass behind it, and you got to add some intent behind it. And you start with these sponge things. Then you graduate to the harder stuff, like I was saying. But what you're going to find out is when you're dealing empty hand, you have two, and your hands come in handy. If you can pull out an improvised weapon or a blade or even a firearm against a knife attack, more power to you. But again, we're talking training methodologies to get comfortable with somebody who can really come after you with the tip of this thing and have boxing speed and agility. Like I said, a Muhammad Ali, a Mike Tyson, a Sugar Ray Leonard, that would be pretty scary. Now, when you look at things from that control point, again, think about range control. Tip of the weapon, where's that ending up? Is their arms all the way locked straight? Are they stepped? What's their balance doing? Okay? And when you have that down, and then you just play that tapping drill. Yeah, it is, they teach you the triangle, but it can be anything. It doesn't really matter. You want to practice at low, middle, high. All right? Then again, the next thing you want to practice doing is getting control of the weapon-bearing arm. Well, how do you do that? Like I said, elbow control. Get used to that elbow control thing, right? In the future, I'm going to start showing more partner practice things. There's just nobody here right now. It's me and the good old arm dummy, but I can't show you a whole lot in terms of how to bridge the gap with that. And the other thing that's real important is touch. You know, even if you're boxing and somebody's throwing punches at you, I advocate picking up the hands. You know, same thing with somebody's kicking up. I advocate picking up the legs, meaning touch. I know where they are. I don't have to think about it. You don't want to try to move and slip. You want to get control of that arm. So if you box and all you do is move and everything like that, and you're not used to using your hands, you need to get used to using your hands, okay? If you do karate and you're all used to blocking, your ass needs to learn how to move. So that's the pendulum drills that I show and things like that. And so what you're doing is you're putting it all together, and you need to be able to reach out and touch with your hands, all right? And when you get good at that, it's so much easier to deal with stuff. I mean, yeah, you're using your vision, but you would be surprised how much touch is everything, personally. You know, and those of you who have ever fought before and really had to get it on and it got scary, you'll understand what I'm saying. Touch has a lot to do with it, right? Especially in low lighting areas. What if they have buddies? What if you have 5 or 6 guys with blades like this, and they're going to try to be stabbing you? And you know what? You should practice that kind of thing. Get 2 or 3 guys and these sponge knives and have them come at you. All right? What you want to do there is find a way to get the hell out of there. Because you're not going to be able to overcome that. But you don't have to die. That's what's important here. And you can't be so worried about getting cut. Chances are, yeah, you're probably going to get nicked up, even in training. And you know what? That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. What you don't want to do is take a clean stab in the AOE order, a clean cut and a carotid. You know, if you can avoid it, try to avoid getting cut on the flexors. When you receive injuries, you want to have injuries that are repairable. You get an artery cut, you want to be able to clamp it off. You know what I mean? You want to have recovery injuries if you got to get injured at all. You know, so don't think you're going to go into this and not get injured. Okay, that's stupid thinking as well. But go into this and have a degree of fun with your buddies. But go into this and try to experience what this would really be like. And I'm telling you, it's a hell of an eye-opener, you know. Even with this little sponge thing. You heard a guy use zapper knives or the ink knives. They're trying to prove an illustration that you're going to get touched. Okay, so what? You still have to train for survival. You still have to train for being able to get away. So don't get so caught up on that. Don't worry so much about that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight, because it was an interesting question, you know. Because when we all do train this kind of stuff, you know, it is pretty prearranged, and the drills are pretty easy, and there's a lot of cooperation. And in short, you want to start taking away the cooperation. You know what I mean? And you don't want to spar too much with sticks. You don't want to spar too much with knives. Okay, you get the wrong idea. Okay, survival is not sparring. Survival is not sport. Survival is controlling the outcome so you can get safe. Whole different cup of tea. So you need to get shit done fast. You can't be playing, all right? Now, if you train with this in mind, you still have a lot of fun, but you get a different end product. Okay? So I can't say that enough. Don't mix up sparring with survival training. Don't mix up sparring with self-defense. Sparring is for sport. Sparring is for timing. And when you train in drills, don't get lost in a drill. Start to break out of the drill and learn how to apply the drill randomly to different strikes and attacks and multiple opponents and stuff. And when you do that, you know what? Your training is going to triple and quadruple skill-wise. You know what I mean? You'll really start to have a lot better understanding. And for those of you that teach this stuff, you'll have more to teach from a better experience. And those of you who have fought before, you understand that reality doesn't make mistakes. You make mistakes. The reality's coming at you. It's not going to make a mistake. It wants to get you. You're either going to make the mistake or you're not going to make the mistake. You want to make mistakes in training, and that's how you learn. Okay? But don't mistake sparring for the reality. Don't do that, because it isn't like that. It's a whole different cup of tea. Okay? So, again, thanks for listening. Thanks for following me on YouTube. I appreciate it, guys. And please, any questions, any critiques, please email me at billyboston@gmail.com or KabataFitnessWorkshop@hotmail.com. Okay? Again, thanks a lot. Let's try to stay warm out there. It's chilly tonight. Peace.